Beta Series, media partner of the Berlin TV Series Festival 2020. Thank you for being with us today on betaseries.com or the application Beta Series for another conversation. Every day of the week we talk with the artistic team and crew of the TV series selected for the Berlin TV Series Festival. And today, a new discovery. We're going to be talking with Christian Alvart and Adolfo Kolmerer, showrunners and writers of a new TV series called Sløborn, a kind of visionary TV series about a pandemic. Yes, indeed. Let's call them. Thank you for being with us today, Christian Alvart and Adolfo Kolmerer. I hope I'm not misspelling the name.
That's okay.
No.
Okay. So you're the creators and the artistic team of another TV series selected at the Berlin TV Series Festival. And I'm quite happy to have you because your show is kind of visionary. That's the least I could say. So before we go on talking about your way to work, because that's the theme of our show, how to write a TV series, how to direct it, maybe the two of you could tell us how you got involved into the project, how the idea was created, and how the pre-production worked for the two of you. How did it all happen? Maybe Christian first?
Yes. Yeah, I should start because I got involved earlier. I came up with the idea of doing a show about a slow-moving apocalypse and a virus pandemic when I was living in LA in 2008, and there was a swine flu epidemic in Mexico, and it was kind of bleeding into California, and the news was very apocalyptic, and it was a lot of experts you could hear that said, you know, this could be it in the modern world, that any virus can essentially wipe us out if the mixture and the nature of the virus is good for that. But I noticed that life was going on. Like you consume this in the news and you hear it, but you just basically, especially for me, I've just fulfilled my dream of being a director in Hollywood. So I cared more about that. And a friend of mine was getting a divorce and other people are falling in love. So you kind of compartmentalize, you know, you have your brain for the news and you have your brain for your private life. And it takes a long time to actually change your private life because of something in the news. And that was an idea that I thought could not be done in a TV, in a movie, because you need to be invested with the characters in their life before the virus could attack it. So I conceptualized it as a TV show even back then. And then I, collected data and did all the research and came up with the characters. It took a long time. And then finally, back in Germany with my own company, I started to let's do this show for real. And because on another show I did, Dogs of Berlin, I wanted to work with Adolfo on the second season, so that we're two directors, not just one. And Dogs of Berlin hasn't happened yet. So I said, well, since we're not doing anything, maybe you want to learn about Sløborn and this new show that I have also in mind that is a slow-moving apocalypse, and maybe interested. And thankfully he was.
Yeah, it was very nice. Yeah. When Christian approached me with the idea of this project, like, I'm very interested in the human condition and how we take information. And especially right now, we are all very well aware of a pandemic and how it works and how people would react. But actually 1 year ago, when we were on set shooting this, it was more like a what-if situation. And it really surprised me, all the research that Christian has done before, because he met with all the specialists and people that specialize in virus, people that went into Africa and were dealing with Ebola. And the results of this research surprised me a lot. It was the human, how they react to this, how people actually don't wear the mask, how they think they're not going to get it. So it was, for me, that I'm actually very interested in how people react to situations. And that's the kind of dramas that I want to do. Was actually a perfect fit for what I wanted to do next. And I was very excited of being part of the project, yeah.
And you're talking about the researches that you did, that Christian did before the shooting. So you went to talk to scientists, and is it the first time that you do that for a TV series, for a script that you write, because it's based on something that could be happening and is happening? Or usually, and that's a question for the both of you, by the way, or do you do researches just by book, literature, and movies, or do you do just like that and go also to scientists or to persons who really know the job you're describing in a TV series?
I mean, I never went to this extent before, because usually it's not that complicated. In this case, we really need to come up. For example, we needed to develop a virus that doesn't exist, but could believably exist. And this is not something you can get from books. So you're talking to virologists, and you want it for the dramatic way. You want your story to work. You want to have it in a certain way. So you're pitching viruses to people that know if you're talking bullshit or not. So that I've never done that before. And then the same with the response from the government. You know, yes, there's something online and there's a few books, but you really want to know not just what is the perfect way, but also what is the problem, where people are not happy with the plan, where people think, you know, in every job we know something that the boss doesn't, you know, or the boss thinks something will work away and the employees think differently. So I wanted to get the feeling of when will it break down? When are you overwhelmed? Where's disagreements? Where's chaos? What's going on? So I've never done it to this extent before. No, I talked to some cops. And I talked to, when I did a movie called Cut Off, that's, by the way, coming out in France right now. I think you can watch it on streaming. It's L'Inciseur is the name. I went to a lot of dissections of bodies. Like I went to, you know, because it was all about that. So I went to, I saw, I don't know, 30, 40 dead people being opened up and all that. But that's another one where I think, if you want to really have something specific that's really need to be right, you have to get in there. You can't just read books. And I learned some things that I wouldn't have learned from books, definitely.
And how's the research process going for you, Adolfo?
For me, that's actually really, normally I always go what we call down the rabbit hole. You know, when you are interested in a subject, you know, for me, I spend hours and hours and watch everything that is being done about a project. If I were researching right now, for example, serial killers, I go and watch as much as I can. I see all the psychological analysis, why people do this. I read books about this. And then, of course, what is very important, the real life experiences as well. You know, we interview cops that are in this situation, detectives, forensics. So you can, because it's my job as Christian's job to create a real world where you feel that we are telling the truth, because that's when then the viewers are going to feel drawn to it. And I think in the Sløborn and the TV show we did was one of our most rules was like people should always believe that this can happen because the research told us this could happen. And one year later, it's proved that I think 95% of the things that we wrote was actually like that because it was written on reality. It wasn't not just fiction or an idea of Christians' head that people won't wear a mask because they don't like it. We did the research that people won't wear a mask. So that's very important in a part of our job, to do the proper research before we do something.
But I have to be honest, I was really scared when the pandemic started, obviously about the pandemic itself, but I was also scared that if we made mistakes and if we did something wrong, now we're gonna be naked in front of the world. And so I'm really glad that there's always going to be some things wrong. Like on every movie, I have someone call me and tell me, well, the car you used for this didn't exist in October 91. It exists in spring 92 or something like that. That's okay for me. You can never get everything 100% right. But if you get most of it right, then you're happy.
And how did you feel when this whole pandemic, I'm talking about more about the lockdown things, were you kind of excited because you like worked on something like that artistically for more than a year and a half, I guess. So were you like, okay, I know the subject? Did you feel more concerned that we were because you knew already what could happen? How did you feel with these COVID-19 things?
I think everybody who worked on the show was more like the virologists and the health experts, taking it very serious very early on, because we made a show about not taking it serious, you know. So we made a show to warn about this a little bit. I mean, it's not the only thing in the show, but one of the intents of the show was how is it that we humans don't, as soon as a disaster is slow, we don't take it serious. You know, it's the same with global warming. It's the same with all the animal world dying. I mean, everything that's going slow is not, humans are not made for this kind of threat, you know, to really feel threatened. We feel threatened by things in the moment. So I felt threatened as soon as the virus started. We, like, even back in December when the first reports from Wuhan came in, I think we're the most frightened people in Germany, were the crew of this show.
Because how long? And for you, it was the same thing for both of you.
Yes, totally. When everything started and when the pandemic started getting more serious and serious, Christine and I were editing the show. We were sitting together in the editing room under the new laws and everything that cannot be more than 3 people sitting in a room. So all of a sudden we're editing a show and an idea that was fictional last year, and we're living it. And of course, everyone said like, yeah, it's going to happen in 1 week, it's going to be away. But I was always very worried because all the studies that we did, all the research point that it's not going to go away very soon. So I was always treated with a lot of respect. And every time someone told me like, that's a lie from the government, and how can you not know? And I was like, we need to be very, very careful about the human condition because we just did a show about it.
And
we have people in the show saying that it's a lie from the government, or they're rejecting to be tested. Or someone, you know, there was a big plot point in the show where someone is running away from the hospital, even though she might be sick. And I had a big fight with the other writers about nobody would do that. And I'm like, I talk to the experts. That happens all the time. People get scared. People feel powerless. People think I'm just basically like a prisoner. I'm just going to escape. And then they escape and they take the virus with them. So, you know, and then all that happened. And we shot a scene about a hospital that's overwhelmed, where people are just basically in the hallway and falling out of their beds and just being completely stuffed with people, the hallways. And we shot that scene under heavy discussions if it is too much. And then when we were done with the show, all these images from Italy reached us, you know, where people took the cell phone footage just like in the show. So it was really, so much was happening. I could go on for half an hour just listing things that we thought were controversial that happened exactly as they were described.
And did you feel, because you were you just say you were in the editing room where it all happened, did you feel like the word could be strong, but a responsibility? Because what we saw during the lockdown is that the Steven Soderbergh's movie Contagion, who was made back in 2009, 2010, became the most popular Warner Bros. Video on demand, and it was like on the 500th position just before. So you did know when you were editing that there would be like more people than you expected, and internationally, that would want to see the show. Is it exciting, even if, of course, it's a pandemic, so it's a side thing, but I'm just talking about the artistic aspect. Is it exciting to know that you could reach more people, or do you feel more like a responsibility, like, okay, we're going to be taken very seriously, so we have to be a little more careful on the editing and stuff? How did it change?
I mean, it was the word editing is a little bit confusing because the cuts were mostly done when it really reached us. We were still doing music, we're still doing ADR and stuff a little bit. But first of all, both is true. You feel more responsible, obviously, but I think it had because we felt responsible from the get-go after talking to all these people. So I think, and by the way, the network was super adamant that if we do this, we have to get it right. So we had this feeling from the beginning, and we actually changed almost nothing. I had a long crisis about this as a changed world now after COVID, and it's not in the show. Do I need to change anything? And then I decided, no, it's just basically like a fork in the road. And in real life, in 2020, COVID came, and in our show, instead of COVID, the bird flu came. Okay, so we did this, and then we did just a tiny little thing where Adolfo made a little joke in the last episode, where when you hear all the chatter and all the radio and news stations, there's someone saying, "Should I drink what is this cleaning chemicals now?" or something like that. I'm translating it badly. I'm sorry. And that is obviously a play on Trump's idiotic idea of basically drinking that kind of stuff. But that's the only change we made. And when you go to the other part of your questions about contagion, yes, we were very aware that this is a possibility. But the problem with the rights situation, with the TV show that you're doing for a network, is we didn't even know if they agree that it's okay to send it now, to air it now, or if they would postpone it. Because obviously there are going to be people that think it's not good for a network to air something like this right now. And so we were more scared about not coming out at all than thinking about all the possible interest that this could have. And by the way, it is not sold everywhere yet. It's not like when I did a Netflix show on day one, it's coming out everywhere. This is now individual territories, so it's going to be slow moving because they have to negotiate, send it there, and then the networks in their countries have to make decisions. So I don't know about the international response yet. You know, it's been super awesome for us in Germany. You know, we got a huge response. Obviously, it's a show of the moment. Most of the reviews were amazing. So it's great for Germany, but it was much, much smaller than, for example, when I did a Netflix show and it came out in 180 countries on day one.
Yeah. And what's your view about that, Adolfo? About the responsibility that you could have, or the excitement?
Yes. Yeah, of course. As both, like Christian said, was something that made me feel safe. And the side of responsibility was that we never used the virus in our show, or the situation of being a virus, in order to exploit or be entertaining. You know what I mean? We never used this subject to serve the film. We use it the other way around. We always were very respectful to every opinion that someone would have in a situation like this that we're living right now. You know, we never made fun of characters being afraid. We never said like this idea or this position would be ridiculous. So, and the kind of responsibility, I always said we did it how it's in life. So we're just portraying, Christian and I were extremely objective about how to portray the characters. We were portraying reality that we learned from real cases. So if we would have done something bad or something just in case, just to scare people, the responsibility would be higher. But that was never our intention. We just portrayed the way it is. So my responsibility level, I was never afraid of showing what we have done. Excitement is more like, it was a two-side, because we know what we did. And because we did it so realistic, we knew what is going to be the response. Some people are going to believe this, and some other people are going to believe the other character. And that's the beauty, that we give room to everyone. At the end of the day, like in their characters in the show, it's your decision to make what you believe out of the situation. And of course, one of the best things is we never show the government part. In normal pandemic films or catastrophe films, you always see what the president and scientists are doing. We focus in our characters. We never see what everyone is, so you can feel how normal people like you and me would react to a pandemic.
Yeah, that's a very important thing Adolfo just said. I think that was one of our unique selling points of this was that I was thinking a lot about how I would behave in any given crisis situation, and you all of a sudden you're much less knowing than usually you are in movies. And I realized that when there was a ferry sinking in Korea and the board crew told the passengers to stay in their cabins, but the ones that stayed in the cabins didn't survive. And I was like, I would be in the cabins because I would do what the board crew is saying. So maybe you have to basically question everything, especially if you're responsible for a family. So a huge part of the show was not knowing what's going on in the decision-making offices, in the labs, in the rooms of power. So we're only with people. The highest power we have is on a slow island that has 4,000 people. We go just as high as the mayor of that little town. So we're never higher than him. That's the highest character in terms of power. And I think that makes it more relatable because 99% of the people of this planet don't have power, and they have this perspective that we have.
Yeah, definitely. As an artist, and I think that both of you are going to give me a different answer, but what was the biggest challenge you have, the thing that was most difficult to do on the show? And another part of my question is, how did you grow up artistically? What did the working on this show bring to you artistically? So what was the biggest challenge, and what did you learn from this experience? Adolfo?
Me? Well, for me, I love French interviews. They're so good. They're so theme and cinema. It's amazing. I could talk like 2 hours about this question, but for me, first of all, as a filmmaker, it's the first time that I do a TV show. It's the first time that I have to work under certain new rules. You have a time constraint when you do a TV show. You need to film a certain amount of scenes every day, which normally in film you would reduce, like if in a movie I shoot 2 scenes a day, in a TV show I have to shoot 4 scenes a day. That was one of, for me, my challenges to overcome to train my creativity to be faster. The problem solving situation needs to be faster, less complaining and more action. Find still my artistic decisions in it and be proud of it, which I am. My working with Christian Alvart, which is very famous in Germany for being one of the most proactive directors in this country. We cannot forget that we didn't have like a huge budget, and still we managed to do something that looks cinematic and is very respectful to the medium that we work with. That was for me was amazing. We had a very, very intense shooting time, but I remember with a lot of joy and a lot of progress that I learned as a filmmaker. After this process, I feel I could take another challenge faster than I would take it 1 year ago. I trust now more the craft and my own decisions now. Yes.
Christian?
Well, for me, it's actually, since I'm producing most of my own stuff, for me, the most difficult part is always to convince everybody that this is a worthwhile endeavor, and I'm getting better at it. But it's still, when you ask what's the biggest challenge, after, 22 projects, 20 movies and 2 series and many, many projects that didn't get made or not get made yet. I'm getting better at this, but I find it less difficult to actually do them because I have done so many now. So it's more like, how do you put your visions into words that people will trust you with the money, with the budget, with the schedule and everything? I find that still very hard. And to pitch a show that Sløborn is a play on slow burn. The idea was to be slow in a time where many, many shows have to be super fast. So that was probably the most difficult. Yes. The actual shoot for me was mostly fun. There's always problems. Like there's things that go wrong every day. And Adolfo was with me to watch me do it because he was working on my show and wanted to learn. And he saw how I'm used to that already. Like I enter any shooting day and expect things to not work and go wrong. And I'm pretty good now in solving that. So that's not as hard anymore. And what I learned mostly is to actually share responsibilities, because I've never done that. I'm very much have a hard time to give up any control. So to have Adolfo as a partner turned out great. I mean, I could have made a horrible experience with it because I'm already bad. But quite honestly, we talked a lot about this in the beginning. I said, Adolfo, I'm trying this for the first time. I'm really bad at giving up this thing. I'm even scared about this. Please know this. So that if I behave like a dick maybe on a day, it's because of this. And then it turned out to be super easy with Adolfo. It really wasn't. I don't think there was a single situation where I was regretting this decision.
Yeah, same here.
And that's beautiful to hear. And my last question for both of you, both as writers and producers, since we're doing a show about important TV series as filmmakers and cinematography, what would be the TV series, maybe the movie if you have a movie, but maybe the TV series that is the most appealing to you, that you go back to on a personal level or as an artistic level, that you find perfect, that maybe influenced you on some things? If you can give me one, maybe two TV series that are important both as human being but as an artist as well.
So the problem with this is there's shows that you love that are not perfect, but you still love certain episodes and aspects. And for example, that's why I give two shows. One is Sons of Anarchy, is a show that I really love, but I have to say they have some weak areas. Mm-hmm. And there's padding the runtime and all these problems, but I love the cast, I love the characters, I love the world, I love the music, the filmmaking. I think they're all great. So that is a show I've seen twice completely and in parts several times. And if you ask for a perfect show, I think there's two perfect shows. I used to say there's only one. That was The Wire. Oh. The Wire is a perfect show where everything is perfect. There's not a single second that is not awesome. And I've seen it 3 times. Back when it came out, I bought because I live in Germany, when the first season came out as well, I bought the DVD box set for I think like $120 from the US, and
okay.
I still have all these box sets, and I wasn't disappointed. I mean, that gives you something, And the other show that is very recent, and I think Adolfo knows what I was gonna say. I think it's another perfect show from last year. So Adolfo, I hand it over to you.
I think the one that Christian is gonna mention because it's perfection is Chernobyl.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah, from HBO. Okay, from last year. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It shows you again reality now from a point of view of the past. I think I was completely taken away because it feels like it's a horror movie, but actually it's not, because it's reality. This acting is perfect. The music is perfect. The cinematography is perfect. The directing is perfect. Everything. I've seen it many times as well, like Christian did. And it's funny because we didn't talk about it, and then we realized that we were both fans of it. So I think from shows that are inspiring, if you ask me my top 5, Chernobyl would be definitely in there. I have shows, for example, recent shows. If you ask me, I think Mindhunter is perfect, is amazing. Cinema is a different thing because cinema is like music for me. I have days that I want to feel good, and I watch a movie that makes me feel good at the end. But there is movies that I always go back. For example, super cliche, but it's one of my favorite movies, is 2001: A Space Odyssey, for example.
Definitely. The director's cut?
The director's cut, yeah. I saw it again in Cannes last year. Christopher Nolan presented it in 70 millimeters. I cried. I was in the cinema. I cried. Denis Villeneuve was sitting behind me, and I was like, okay, this is perfection. This movie is a movie that you can watch in 100 years again, and it still holds up very good. Stanley Kubrick did something good. But as a Christian said, there is movies that maybe are not perfect, but fill your heart, So it's always, I cannot decide where my favorite movie is, but I have my top 10. Let's go like that, yes.
Thank you so much for the both of you, Christian and Adolfo, for being with us. We can't wait to see. I had the chance to see the TV series because I had a link from the festival, but I can't wait for the French people, considering what we're going through right now, to see this. This is an important TV series made by inspirational people, just like I just saw the last 30 minutes. Thank you for giving me some of your time. Good luck with all of your projects, and I hope to see you here on the set next time when it's all over.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
You to the both of you.
Fun.
Thank you. So thank you, Christian Alvart and Adolfo Kolmerer for Sløborn, UC Visionary TV series. We're going to be talking with another crew tomorrow. Please stay with us on betaseries.com and the application Beta Series for the conversations we do have every day with the selected teams of the Berlin TV Series Festival. Thank you. Beta Series, media partner of the Berlin TV Series Festival 2020.